briefly, could you tell us about the e-residency, which is an amazing opportunity, I guess, if we don't know about that. And then I want to find out how can you actually bring this to life? What needs to be done in terms of the administration and the work between institutions to actually make that happen, Ulane? And let's see how far or close are we in Romania with that.
So e-residency, for those of you who don't know, e-residency is essentially a digital ID which gives access to people who don't reside in Estonia, who are not citizens of Estonia, gives them access to the digital services that our government provides. And not only the public ones, but also private ones. So like your telecoms, your internet service providers, everybody would have the same digital identity that they accept for signing and for knowing who you are. And I think what's important here is that e-residency is like by itself worthless. But because Estonia has invested 30 years into building up every possible public service online so that you don't have to go to a government office. And I think it has to do with the fact we don't like to talk to people because we're Nordic people, so like we want to do everything through the screen. So we have taken all of our public services online, so we use them. And e-residency is only like, okay, hey, you can also use them if you'd like. So it's nothing separate.
I'll jump in and say that because none of you guys raised your hand about e-residency, we all know that we don't have that in Romania. My name is Robert Berza. I'm Executive Director of Edge Institute. It's a think tank launched this year that focuses on growing the public services in Romania in the digital ecosystem. And we are, if we look at the status quo, we are today where Estonia used to be kind of 15 to 20 years ago. The good news about it is that the technology moves so fast that we don't need 20 years to be where they are today. We can hopefully get closer to them or other champions in Europe in couple of years. But first, in order to have any type of digital services or e-residency as a cherry on the cake, you need electronic ID and electronic signature. And we can share some good news. The Ministry of Interior launched at the beginning of this year a pilot in Cluj and then roll out in the country. And just this week they launched an app. So if you have the new electronic ID, this app also allows you to move on with the digital signatures. And this is kind of the foundation of any type of digitalization in the country. Now, from here to there, that's gonna be a lot of work where you need partners like the ones that we have here on the stage from e-residency, from civic society, private sector, but also first you have to have a vision of the country, why digitalization is good for the citizen, and we don't have that yet, and at least a high-level strategy in 5-7 points that are important to develop in the next years, and still we don't have that yet. But soon, hopefully, we're going to have it.
I was going to comment that one of the things that Estonia did quite early on is that it made its digital ID compulsory for all citizens. And you're saying that from here to here is a long way, but when Estonians had to all have their digital identity as a compulsory element, nobody was really happy. There was a lot of jokes going around that, what's this card useful for? Like, we can just scrape the ice off of our car windows with this, because the infrastructure wasn't there yet. So in that sense, I really believe you are right. Like, first, you have to have that. Every person needs to be able to prove who they are remotely in a secure way so that it's perceived as safe as seeing your photo ID, your passport, so that, you can do things remotely.
The good news is that we have legislation for that. So this is in place nationwide. Now, the bad news in some ways that we're going to have to go through the similar cycle. So before having a large amount of population having this electronic ID, we're not going to have so many services useful for it, but they are the prerequisites. So without that, we're not going to build services. You first have to have the infrastructure of that, and then this kind of ecosystem should be open also to private, so companies can build on this amount of data and offer services that are a mix of private and public for the citizen. And I'm sure that that's going to happen. There are some bytes and bills, let's say, bits of good news in terms of why I think that that's going to happen, and I'm going to try to quote some numbers here. I know that the government's program in a country like Romania is not like the sexiest document that everybody knows and reads. It does have a bad PR because there are so many governments that put a program and not necessarily did what they were writing there. But at least digitalization in the actual government program is named 129 times. In the last ones, there were like hundreds of mentions, and there are bits of energies in different stakeholder management systems where things start to move. So this electronic identity card is a good example. Then we all know Ghișeu.ro, for example, in Romania, where you can pay taxes. It doesn't look like 2025, it looks like 2005, but at least it works and it's an easy process. And I think the biggest piece of news is that with Edge Institute, we have done 2 surveys last year and this year, and we see that there is an optimism in terms of public society about digitalization. So 70% of Romanians believe that digitalization is a good thing and can make their life easier. And this is this year data. Last year it was 63, so it keeps growing. We have a neutral kind of amount of 25 to 30%, and just 9 or 8% of people think that digitalization is a bad thing in general, and they don't want that to accelerate in public services. So we have to use more this energy that people believe that this is a positive trend. They identify digitalization as a way to make their life easier. They identify proof of concept, so like we don't want to carry all those documents, we can have them in a digital wallet. We want to interfere with, I don't know, hospital or education also in a digital way, so we schedule appointments, we have, again, a health a digital wallet here, and so every, I think, aspects of pieces of pressure exist today, so from people to authorities and also organizations like us. These energies would one day be reality, and probably we're going to have the majority of our services online as well, and with a high adoption rate.
Can I suggest something else?
Please.
For you to be able to advocate these things, I think one of the things that I feel that digitalization also does is that it reduces corruption. Because it's really hard to bribe a computer, you know? Like, I mean, I've tried, but like it does nothing for me. So it's one of the ways actually where you reduce this like person-to-person contact in public services and maybe potentially like dependence on doing each other favors. And I think this is something that definitely will bring more business, bring more money, bring more, you know, talent to Romania as well, if you actually manage to kind of sell it as also a way of transparency.
We totally agree on that. Also, we have data that show that people perceive this as a benefit of digitalization. And one of the things that can be useful is to bring back valuable, let's say, people from our diaspora. We have 20% of the people outside Romania living somewhere in Europe, and they want to come back. Some of them, they want to come back in a country where corruption is lower and transparency is higher, as it is in Western Europe.
I was.
You can't ask us any questions.
Always I wanted to ask something, but I enjoyed the fact that you were already having the conversation. I want to remind you that there's a couple minutes left for you to engage on the topic now while they're on stage, and also invite you to engage with them once they get off stage and once this segment is done, just before we move on to the next one about the launch report on the state of early stage startups in Romania. So think about that and do raise a hand so I can hand out the mic to you. But I was doing this imagination exercise. So now there's gonna be so many systems, e-residency like systems popping out throughout the whole Eastern Europe, at least, the ex-communism communist bloc. How will they actually work, merge with one another, or merge into a big, like European at least level system? Is that something that e-residency is capable of? Is something that e-residency needs to make, or the European Union needs to make, so that it can incorporate the values and the infrastructure that e-residency has been building on? And so for us to actually have the lessons earlier on, as well as we had during the Wi-Fi implementation, having the best internet in the world, or at least in this part of the world. Could you give us some perspectives and advice, Ulane? And then hand you out to Mike.
It makes me think of a couple of things. All countries, they're trying to solve their particular problems with those kinds of schemes, right? So for example, if I look at like the countries that are either trying to really attract talent, or they're giving out some kind of an e-residency style thing, they all have like different purposes. Some of them want to get businesses into the country, people into the country, giving them tax incentives, So that's like, what problem are you solving, right? Estonia has only 1.3 million people in the country, right? Romania has not 20 million, right? So it's like literally like 18 times bigger than Estonia. So you have a lot of talent. Talent is something, for example, we have a shortage of it, right? So we're trying to bring more talented founders to set up in Estonia and thus succeed, and hopefully they can grow our economy, because with 1.3 million people, it's really hard to do. You guys have talent, right? So you have different problems that you're trying to solve. As far as the digital identity itself, Estonia is the highest security level in Europe. So ours is considered a qualified electronic signature, right? And other countries, they have versions of a digital identity, but they don't have that security level, So we have biometrics, we have PIN 1, PIN 2, and then we have something physical. So, and then in theory, EU countries should be accepting each other's QESs. But do they really?
They are, I think. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So like, I haven't worked with you before, and I send you documents signed with my Estonian ID, and you're fine with it.
I mean, as long as it's, there's this repository registered with all the QoS, and they are listed there, and that's like, as long as it's listed there, we haven't had problems. Like, at least in Romania, national authorities, they accept foreign qualified electronic signatures listed there. But I think I had a question. I'm not sure if you maybe know where we stand with the European digital identity, and maybe I'm curious if authorities in Romania are already preparing for that, and maybe also in Estonia, the EU
e-wallet.
E-wallet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so its purpose is a little different. So it's not going to be for signing, actually. It's going to be to show an existing document, which is a document that's actually like, a physical document, to show that in other countries cross EU. So
And
its purpose is going to be a little different.
be accepted by the authorities of the other countries, yes, by default. So.
Yeah, so like I have my Estonian version of this kind of thing already. Like I can show my driver's license, but you won't accept it here if I show you the Estonian app. So that's what EU ID is going to do, yeah? So, but it's not for signing and proving your identity remotely.
To answer your question, one day, it's going to be 2 or 3 or 5 years, we're going to have this ecosystem in Europe where everybody accepts this basic documentation. Romania prepares for that. Estonia is a little bit ahead. So in their cases, if they go visiting Finland over the weekend and there is a health problem there, already their data is accepted by Finland doctors, so their digital wallet in terms of health is accepting the data that is inserted from a Finnish doctor will go also in It's a cross-border kind of cooperation, and that will go across the country. Now, coming back to the initial question, I really believe that this is going to happen across Europe, but I agree with you that there will be different angles by different countries. So in our case, yes, we have a lot of talent, but if we compare with Estonia right now, because we are here on the stage, Estonia has a very high percentage of entrepreneurs per capita. One of the reasons that these stats exist is that they build such a smooth customer flow where you can open easily your company digitally, and they even exported it to Ukraine, and Ukraine is one of the champions right now in Europe based on Estonian technology and Estonian knowledge and so on. In Romania, it's totally different. It's a nightmare to open a company, and the current situation is worse than, let's say, the digital solution is worse than it used to be 2 years ago. The good news, again, is that the current Ministry of Digitalization put this as a high topic on his agenda and wants to do it in 24 hours. Why I'm talking about it is because we need this kind of angle in Romania. We are at a business conference here, and creating such a smooth customer journey would probably unlock a lot of needs. Young people that would probably start building their own company. Some of those guys, you know, they don't need an office for that, just they need their computer and maybe, you know, charge invoices to different other companies in terms of technology or whatever. So one of our angles probably should be how to use this human capital, put technology on top of it, and create a bigger amount of native digital entrepreneurs that at one point would export their services across Europe, because again, we are 20 million here, or at least across the region.
Are we over time?
Always.
Yes, we are, but a quick call to action that I'm gonna also do. What about you, Ulana? A quick call to action to those of you, inside the room.
In my mind, I think this. I mean, we are still both small countries.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, compared to Germany and Poland and Spain and France, we're both small countries. And I think in these kinds of things where like moving fast could be an advantage, I think smaller countries have a better chance in succeeding in those things. So, you know, like just yesterday I read that there's this like new border system for non-EU citizens, and only Estonia and Luxembourg are ready to actually implement this from the due date, right? So smaller countries can move faster. So, you know, I urge you to believe in yourself as a small country and move faster.
Let's stay small. Stay small, stay foolish. Super appreciative about your presence in the event. We'll carry on with the next ones, but a quick call to action is that as long as they here and e-residency is here for throughout the conference, they also have a booth in the expo area in the other building, and you can visit them and engage with them there. And Robert is going to be around at least for the next couple of hours, but also connect with them via LinkedIn, I guess. You'll find that out. And now we're going to move on to Thomas, sharing us the briefing about the AI action plan. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Olane.
Thank you.
We're going to meet soon.